Hey everyone, this is Mike G, aka Lord Commander Guts, here for another outline. Here we're going to be doing The Ancients, which is going to be a four-parter, so this is part one, so hang in there. I'm going to try and get these done as quickly as possible. It does take quite a bit of time to edit all this together, but let's get started. Now this is a recent request, and it is going to be including a lot of HP Lovecraft in this, as well as some mythology from Norse and some Greek mythology as well. So, here we go, The Ancients Part 1. We start in an ancient cavern, dark and lit by a single flow of lava from the top of the cavern falling. We see Kronos standing, watching over an egg as it begins to hatch. A creature and a son to Kronos stood watching for him. Kronos picked him up and lit up his dorsal fins. In the distance were several bones of his own kin. Kronos begins to walk towards an exit. As he exits, the light from outside lights the way. He steps into a large city. He looks and sees only more city and temples around the horizon. This is one giant city. He begins to make his way towards the largest of the structures and places the young one on top. In the distance, a figure falls from the sky. He lands next to Kronos in full armor and is a giant man taller than Kronos. The man looks at Kronos and then to the newborn. He then begins to vent steam and jumps into the air. As he lands on the temple next to the newborn, shrunk down to the size of the little one. The man takes off his helmet, and he begins to speak to Kronos. He asks him if there is any specific name he'd like to name his son. The man hears Kronos in thought as a whisper. He hears him speak, Dagon. To which the man responds that Hyperborea is blessed with another guardian. Two others land immediately next to the man. The three are brothers, Hastur, Gandor, and Fruring. They look up to Kronos and hold up Dagon to the setting sun. Thousands of people are gathered and begin to kneel. Kronos begins towards the main road of giants as he heads towards the ocean. The brothers are soon joined by other Ultramen. A team of female warriors move Dagon back with them. Gander flirts with the female captain, to which she says she prefers brunettes as she winks at Fruring. The brothers cackle amongst themselves as they reach another tall structure where their mother awaits them. Though different in appearance, we learn there are three races of Ultramen created from the Elder Gods. They've combined their genetics to the largest mammal of their planet. Their mother speaks to them telepathically, telling them to prepare for coming news. They make way to a large gathering of powerful Ultramen council members of different races. We hear them speak of the past 3 eras of failure. Their mother was married to keep the peace between the North and the East. The West faction was made up of exiles of the first 2 nations. The queen spoke of the return of their king with only grim tidings. War with the Ancient Ones had pushed them out of their planet, taking millennia to defeat them. They were unkillable as they were the makers of death itself. So the Ancient Ones sit in stasis, waiting to be freed, and the Outer Ones wanted the purity of the Elder Ones' creation. The war was coming, and soon. She urged all to prepare defenses and caverns underground. She mentioned sealing the entrances to the inner earth as a last resort, to which the queen's sister declined as an option. The generals tell the queen they'd gather their guardians and prepare for combat on the Red Planet. The eastern general tells of preparing on the Gold Planet, a planet between Jupiter and Mars. Outside, the priestship of Silence were nearby kneeling. The brothers nod their heads at the priests. Gander confronts them and says he won't give up any power bestowed upon him from his father, that they live because of his father. Hester pulls him away and tells him not to mind their ignorance. Had their eyes been open to the madness of reality, we'd see the pre-ship turn dark and rave about the Outer Ones. We are then introduced to the humans of this story as we meet a wide cast from the captains of the guard, workers, and more. In this version, I like to think it is somewhat steampunk and advanced culture. Now, real quick on the pre-ship, they are believers that the gods should be sharing their power for benevolence. Meanwhile, there are some who disagree with them. They are being harassed by some underwater titan on the edge of the city in the Arctic Ocean. We see a tentacle shoot out and grab one of the workers as they are working in the area. A horn is blown as a nearby Kronos moves in to investigate. Kronos moves on as another titan intervenes. Here, we are introduced to Caesar's first chronological appearance. As he takes on the Titan in the water, the Titan was known as a Shoggoth, nameless, abandoned worker of the Elder Gods. As per HP Lovecraft mythos, this one managed to arrive from Antarctica. where the last haven remains for anyone loyal to the Outer Gods. As we see it rise from the waters as a blob mass, its limbs taking form as tentacles to spider-like legs. Many eyes are peering out into Caesar as it charges. The Shoggoth entangle Caesar but is burned by him. Guards arrive and send messengers to inform the demigod rulership of the scout of a great old one. Caesar defeats the Shoggoth and sits watching out to the sea. While the people turn to praise Caesar, they soon return to work. A worker goes to inform worker families involved of their loved ones being consumed by the Shoggoth. We see them turn to tears and pray to the gods to bring them back. We see a person in black, poor robes approach, asking if they want to see their loved ones again. One of the wives agrees, and he escorts them outside the city towards a meadow. This is on the opposite side of the giant island towards the farms, far away from where the incident occurred. Here we hear a dark whisper thanking Nyarlathotep for the offerings. The man in black begins to transform into a monster. The family look in horror and those who followed. They begin to run as another black giant being blocks their escape and grabs them. We pan back to the council as they discuss the rising of Outer Gods rule on the planet of the South Side. They begin to discuss a vanguard to wipe out the Deep Ones who allowed the passage of Shoggoth through their waters. The brothers begin to discuss amongst themselves about who would lead the charge against the Deep Ones. Fruring is ordered to guard the north as Gandor and Hastur are chosen to lead the attack on the Deep Ones. Here we see Kronos and several of his kin join Gandor in the sea along with other demigod warriors, while Hastur takes to the air and joins Gaia with several flying kaiju and demigods with wings. As we see the massive army of titans and kaiju, we hear them talking telepathically to each other. Gandor begins to have a bad feeling about this being a trap, and Hastur responds to tell him to leave nothing unburnt. We end this first part by panning to an outer god, Lukthu, and slowly zoom out. We see giant beings fighting all around it. The being Lukthu is next to a massive planet as it begins to birth a new dark spawn. It then shoots and sends the massive planet off in a direction we assume is the current Earth. We see a few elder ones attempt to stop it as they are stopped by another outer god, Shub-Niggurath. Shub-Niggurath grabs them and begins to consume them. Only a handful of elder god warriors escape as they shoot Shub-Niggurath in multiple eyes with powerful weapons. The golden armored warriors make their escape, following the planet as the rest of the fellow warriors are devoured in the conflict. Here we are introduced to Orion, the commander of this particular group that escapes. And this is where I end part 1 of the miniseries, and I'd like to pitch that this is heavily HP Lovecraft inspired as the origins of these titans we know. The war between the Outer Gods and the Elder Gods here on Earth. I'm hoping to make either 4 parts in total or something around that number. We will see in part 2 other classic Toho monsters as well as HP Lovecraft monsters, and by part 3 I will introduce 2 of my own creations. Now I want to do this each by its own individual episode, so as it's much faster than doing one full giant series overview. But I do know how this is going to end, and I have pretty good ideas on where to go from here. Please let me know if you'd like to see any other HP Lovecraft monsters or Monsterverse crossovers, and just so you know, Cthulhu will be in the final part, as several have requested this titan, and there will be other requested kaiju in this series as well. So, this has been a fun video. Thank you for watching, and leave me some likes. I definitely appreciate it. This is Lord Commander Guts, aka Mike G, out.